Hi, and welcome back to the Fortify Your Brain Summit. I'm Betsy Schroeder, your host. Today I have as my guest Carly Fraser. And Carly has taken her lifelong passion of helping others and combined it with her passion for eating whole raw foods as a means of teaching people to become more aware of the foods that they eat. Concerned by the high degree of sickness and disease, Carly wanted to combat this by educating the public on how whole, real foods can help heal and even cure some of the most debilitating diseases. Welcome, Carly.
Hi.
So you have your bachelor's degree in neuroscience, which includes studies of food addiction. Can you explain some of the science behind food addiction and then our natural tendency to look for our comfort foods when we're under stress?
Yeah, so essentially, research has shown that eating triggers a dopamine reward center in the brain. So this naturally will lead to making food a source of pleasure because, because dopamine is a neurotransmitter, and so that regulates like our emotion and motivation. So when we eat and dopamine is released, then we're going to constantly get like the feedback of like reward. So that essentially, like if you're not really great at regulating your emotions, or if you're not recognizing how your emotions lead to overeating, then this is going to become something that becomes like more of like a chronic pattern in your life, and it essentially just becomes an addiction.
Wow. Are there certain foods that are worse at that are a little bit more addictive?
Yeah, like the most addictive ones are like pretty much like the top four, like salty, sweet, fatty, and I think it's salty, sweet, and fat. Yeah, like those are like the three major ones. So when you have like all three, like most food companies design food products to make like addicted, because those are like the three major like nutrients that trigger our brain to like want to continuously eat more. So yeah.
Sounds like ice cream, chips,
Yeah,
things
exactly.
like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, pretty much everything that
Yeah,
most people get addicted to.
fast food. Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
So, yeah, is there any more to that? Is it mostly dopamine, or is there like any other neurotransmitters, serotonin involved with
Um, yeah, like it's mostly dopamine. Like I guess the next part of the question, like when stress becomes chronic, like that, which most people are like stressed in this
that right
current
now?
world state,
Mhm.
then when you're stressed, your body produces high levels of the hormone called cortisol, and cortisol triggers cravings for like those three foods, like salty, sweet, fatty, fried foods. And so these foods give you like a burst of energy and pleasure, and like essentially the more uncontrolled stress that's in your life, then the more likely you are to eat these foods for emotional relief. So yeah, like dopamine, the neurotransmitter for triggering that emotion and motivation, and then cortisol for the more hormone impact of it. But cortisol also like impacts where your brain functions. So yeah.
Sounds like a vicious cycle.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, the brain and hormone system. So, you have your own story of weight loss and overcoming destructive eating habits. Can you share some of that?
Yeah, so I I was overweight when I was younger, like probably from like 13 to like maybe like 12 to 15. And so I guess like it mostly started with me just uh exercising, and I hadn't quite dealt with like the food aspect of it. And like honestly, like I don't I still I feel like I'm such like a dedicated person that it didn't really take me much to overcome. Um, it didn't take me much to overcome like the emotional aspect of eating because it wasn't, yeah, it's like it's really weird. Like I feel like my process of that was was very different than most people because I just like I had my mind set in a goal to just start eating healthier, and it was just like bam, like I just did it like overnight.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is definitely not the norm.
Yeah, totally. It was really um very like just yeah. I have like dealt with certain food addictions, I suppose, like in the past when I was overweight, like because I was a huge like stress and emotional eater. And yeah, it was, but yeah, in terms of me coming out of it, it was pretty like cut dry. I just pretty much ended it overnight. And I wish I had an explanation for that, but I think it was just my dedication.
Yeah, just discipline, I guess, right?
Yeah, totally.
So, why otherwise would people get into those habits? I mean, can sometimes a trauma from the past or something get people into those patterns?
Yeah, so um like how do we get into patterns of stress eating? And again, I think that just comes down to like the hormone cortisol, right? Because that's like when we're stressed or if we have like stuff that's happening in our life, cortisol's going to be released like regardless. And so I think that's the main trigger that um, will bring us into a form of food addiction. And yeah, like coming out of that is like there's obviously like lots of different methods you can do, right? Like you can track like your food intake when you're like say you're feeling a certain emotion and you want to like eat a bag of chips or something, you can like write down like in a food diary almost like what you ate, why you ate it, and like the emotion behind it. And then once you like grab a certain like storyline over a period of a few weeks, you'll like notice a pattern. And if you become conscious of it, then you can potentially, if you're dedicated enough, just yeah, break the pattern.
So, where do you recommend people start? Like, if they know they are stress eating, okay, so you're writing down your
Hmm.
feelings and what you're eating in a journal. But what are they trying to give up, and what are they trying to move toward? Like, how does that work? What would you recommend?
Yeah, so yeah, over time, I guess once you start to see like a pattern emerge as to like why you're feeling the way that you are and um, how you feel afterward, like say you ate a food and you felt like really terrible afterward, then um, yeah, like once these patterns start to come out and you start noticing them, then you can sort of like identify the emotional eating triggers. And then the next step would be like identifying healthier ways to feed your feelings, right? So if yeah, there's like multiple ways you can manage stress or sad feelings. You can like meditate, you can do yoga, you can go on walks, you can get creative and do some art, or even like going to a counselor and talking about your feelings. Like that's super helpful. I feel like a lot of people um, find shame towards speaking with a counselor, but it's really helpful. Like I've done it before, and yeah, it's. I feel like not many people um, like not many people talk about their feelings. I feel this uh, day and age, and I think it's really important because yeah, otherwise we get stuck in patterns that just aren't healthy for us.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what are some? foods? Like, say if someone has an addiction to chips or whatever, like,
Hmm.
and they're like, oh, I just can't get off of those. Is there a good
Yeah.
substitute that you'd recommend, or
Yeah.
how does that work?
Yeah. So obviously, like if your brain and your cravings go towards sweet, fat, and salty, that doesn't mean that you can't still have those things. Like if you're craving something that's sweet, like maybe turn to like fruit, right? Which is like um, the natural response in our brain to wanting something sweet is probably our like innate, like primal desire to eat fruit, because that's like the most natural source of like fructose, which our
Hmm.
brain requires to like function. But yeah, in terms of like really good foods for brain health, like eating berries, like berries are super great, especially wild blueberries. Um, like essential fatty acids in fruit, like avocado or nuts and seeds.
Hmm.
Um, like walnuts, especially. I can't eat walnuts because I'm allergic to nuts, but um, yeah, and like leafy green vegetables, and yeah, essentially like almost every fruit and vegetable is going to nourish the brain. Like they're super high in vitamins and minerals, so um, those are going to like support the processes that like support brain function.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially, I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about antioxidants and how that works.
Yeah, so like antioxidants essentially they eradicate free radicals in the body, and free radicals, they can come from anything. They can come from our environment, the food we eat, the air we breathe, and these free radicals are destructive to our body, and they can interfere with like our brain, the way we think, and like all other organs in the body. So yeah, when you eat like high antioxidant foods like wild blueberries, for instance, then the free radicals in those blueberries basically counteract um, the free radicals, and they neutralize them so that they don't do further damage to the organs in our body,
Okay.
including our brain.
Right, which is really important.
Yeah.
So what are some other foods besides like the wild blueberries?
Yeah. So like other foods, like I said, like anything that's like super high in essential fatty acids. I I take like a vegan DHA supplement, like DHA EPA, because I think as a vegan you can get DHA and EPA, but you have to eat like super high quantities of certain foods. And the brand that I take, which is Symbiotica, they're an incredible company, and um, yeah, I've personally noticed a difference after taking their supplement. But other things that you can take, like herbs, like I'm not totally sure how to pronounce it because it's I never pronounce. It's like the one word I can never pronounce, but it's like gotchicola, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and that's like super great for our nervous system. Another thing is ashwagandha, which is an adaptogen, and so that will essentially, um, like if you're um, an adaptogen is something like if you're too low or too high in like a certain hormone or something, it'll like balance you and it will take you like to the middle ground essentially.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's super great for the nervous system and the brain. Great for stress relief, which would be good for helping those who eat under stress. Um, Ginseng, lemon balm. I actually really like lemon balm because it's like super calming, and a lot of people use it. Also to get rid of, because it's also it also gets rid of viruses in the body. And yeah, there's also there's so many. Turmeric is great for the brain. Ginger, like yeah, like almost any herb you can think of like supports brain health, right? Like it's yeah, they're all like most yeah.
And what are some ways that you like to use some of these foods that you mentioned? Like, do you have a favorite
Yeah.
smoothie recipe or a combination of
Hmm.
things for a stir fry or salad or?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, in terms of like smoothies, like I really like to combine frozen bananas with dates and wild blueberries and some kind of leafy green. And then in there, I would also stick like hemp protein and maca, which is like a root from South America. And it's like grinded into a powder. And it's also an adaptogen, actually. So it helps with hormones, helps with nervous system. And yeah, and then I think I put a little bit of water in there, and it's pretty delicious.
Excellent. Um,
Yeah.
any other favorites like for salad or?
Yeah, so for salads, I make so many different salads, but I like to take kale and massage it with avocado, lemon, and sea salt to kind of like break it down. And
Mhm.
then I would add like shredded red cabbage, carrots, and cucumber and celery.
Mm,
And yeah, you can also add like almost make like a Buddha bowl kind of. You can like add quinoa to it, like on the side, and like if you want, you can add like different nuts and seeds and legumes or beans if you want as well, because then it kind of like rounds it out a little bit, so you're not like just eating salad, so you get more full.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, do you have any particular stories from clients or anything as far as kind of going before and after and getting rid of some of those addictions and embracing more whole foods in their diet?
Yeah, I think a lot of like the messages and emails I receive are um, like not anonymous. I receive them all the time. I think just people who visit my website and read the information that I put out there have, yeah, the people have expressed like how it's helped them get over like their unhealthy eating habits, and how they have, yeah, essentially like reversed a lot of their health complaints from basically the foods that they were eating. And yeah, it's pretty great. And also like, yeah, some I've gotten a few emails about people being able to like get off their drugs, but I mean that's something obviously they need to discuss with your doctor, right? Because
Hmm.
I
Of course.
wouldn't be recommending just going off your drugs and
No,
using the advice that I put out there. But
right.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely. Is there anything else you wanted to share with people about eating habits, helping to support the brain, the body,
Mhm.
anything like that? Anything related?
Yeah. So yeah, like I think recognizing if you're not feeling good in your body and you're dealing with some sort of health complaint, and I don't know if this is just me, but yeah, like I mean, if you're like dedicated and kind of like fed up with the state that you're in,
Mhm.
then um like starting slowly, like I like in my journey, it didn't take me like I mean, I got over, like I said, I went overnight with my food addictions, and like I did, but it took me like a long time to get where I'm at in terms of like education, like educating myself and finding out what works for my body. So like it's been like probably like 15 years to the point to where I am today. And
Okay.
yeah, it's a process, but it's definitely worth it. I'd probably be really sick and unhealthy right now if I didn't make the changes that I did. And yeah, like even if like you swap out like one thing, like if you swap out like your breakfast for like
Mhm.
a smoothie or something, and you really like pack it full so that you don't get hungry again until lunch. Like even something like as simple as that, or like eating there's this thing called raw till 4. So like if you had a smoothie in the morning and then a salad for lunch and like some other kind of like raw snack before dinner, and then you made something cooked for dinner, that's like super, like that'll benefit your body so much. Like just eating raw until supper time, like it's a really good
Yeah.
method that a lot of people use to to just feel better.
Getting
in
more
the-
greens in your green smoothie and your salad.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, totally.
Right.
Yeah, greens are super important. A lot of people don't focus on greens, but they're essential. So
Yeah.
definitely, yeah.
All right. Great advice. So, where can people find you online and your recipes, your articles? Are you on social media?
Yes, yeah. I'm on Facebook. It's like my tag is live, love, fruit, everything. So it's
Okay.
Facebook, Facebook, Instagram. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Pinterest. I'm on. I think that's it. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I always forget all the social medias because they're so random. I guess YouTube. I have a YouTube, but I don't really. I have to. Yeah, I have so many like. I think I have so many like social medias already that YouTube is kind of like on the side burner, but I would like to get
okay.
into it a little bit more.
And then your website one more time.
It's livelovefruit.com.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, Carly, and
Yeah.
all of your advice on healthy eating.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Okay.